So your bench is atrocious, and the only way for you to feel socially acceptable around other young men is to hit that beautiful, gorgeous 100 kilogram slash 225 slash 2 plate mark. Well, I'm here to tell you you're in luck, because even though you might be genetically stunted and physically chopped, anyone can get a strong bench and or any other lift with just a few simple rules.
Every day I wake up and I hope you atrophy.
The first one being frequency. If you want a strong bench, a strong deadlift, strong squat, there is literally absolutely no reason why you shouldn't be doing that movement 3 times a week. Yes, 3 times a week. 2 at least. 2 to 3 times a week, I want you under the bench press, taking the load of that metal bar. Pause for a minute. That's a wild thing to say. I just got fucking stuck in my own brain. With any movement, particularly compound movements, there is a very high coordination demand, meaning your body needs to work fairly hard to figure out how to perform that movement at its best potential, the most efficiently. And to be able to build good coordination for a movement, you need to do it frequently, do it lots. And if you do it lots in a very short period of time, while still maximizing your recovery session to session, you will get much stronger seemingly. My brain is completely farted. You're going to get much stronger because your body and your nervous system is getting as efficient at that movement as possible. Now, that brings me to sleep. If you are not getting at least 5 nights in a week of good, deep REM sleep, you might as well just take your arm and shove it up your rectum. Because in order for you to build a coordination to execute these muscle actions effectively and efficiently to perform perfectly, you need to get good deep sleeps. Because in a deep sleep, what happens is your brain and your nervous system actually goes back, time travels, and records every action performed throughout the day. And it decides whether or not it's just going to be a thing that it does or has done sometimes, or if it's going to turn it into a habit. And when it adapts, your nervous system adapts and things become habitual, they become easier to do and easier to do. And the easier things become to do in terms of coordination, the easier it's going to be to focus on building more contractile proteins to push the weight, that being muscle, building more muscle, If you want a heavy squat, if you want a heavy bench, if you want a heavy deadlift, you need to do them very frequently. And you need to get good enough sleep that your nervous system and your brain can adapt to doing them effectively. Lastly, we have volume. Now, this is a big one. You need to be able to cut any overlapping volume you have on the same muscle or joint actions. Meaning what, Raf? Meaning if you're doing bench, right, and you do like 3 by 3 at the start of your session, right? You're trying to build some strength. And then after that, you do 2 sets of incline press, 2 sets of flat press, 2 sets of pec deck. What the hell are you doing? Now, that's not the worst thing you can do in terms of volume. That's like pretty well-rounded, but like you're doing just too much at that point for the average person to recover from all of that in time for your next session so that you can continue building those coordination adaptations, right? Because if your nervous system is always like exhausted, it's going to have a very, very hard time adapting to anything new. What are you going to do instead? Instead of reaching for your maximum recoverable volume, you're going to find your lowest effective volume, meaning you're going to do your bench or your squat or your deadlift, right? If you're doing bench, you're going to do 1 set of a flat press variation or fly. So that means you're going to horizontally adduct your arm this way with a fly or a press. You can do 1 incline movement where you are bringing your arm up to over your head in a relatively close grip, okay? And you can do 2 tricep movements, 1 set each, okay? So you can do a push down, and then you can do an overhead extension or a JM press. Not both, just 1, okay? Or you can double up your volume onto 1 if you want. I do not want to see more than 2 extra chest movements and 2 extra tricep movements in your session that you are benching in, right? And the same goes for deadlifting, okay? If you're wanting to get a really strong deadlift, I do not want to see you doing a hinge movement for hamstrings or a heavy movement for your spinal erectors, okay? No. You can do maybe 1 straight leg deadlift variation although I have absolutely zero reason why you would want to do that after you're already doing however many sets of deadlift to try and get stronger at it. And the same goes for squat. Okay, I don't want to see you doing 4 sets of hip thrust and glute kickbacks after you hit your squat. I don't want to see you doing 4 sets of leg extensions and hack squat or leg press. If you want, you may do 1 set of a quad variation and 1 set of a glute variation after you hit your squat. Other than that, hit legs normally, but do not fuck around and overdo it on volume and fuck yourself in terms of recovery session to session if you want to maximize frequency and maximize strength progression. Does that make sense? I hope so, because at this point I'm just thinking in circles. If you find that you're progressing very quickly in terms of comfortability on the bench and strength in the bench and the other movements you're doing, you may begin to add volume back into your quote unquote accessory lifts, meaning everything that you're doing that isn't a compound lift that has a muscle function overlap with your bench press. If you're recovering fine after, let's say, 2 to 3 weeks, maybe 3 to 4, let's say 3 to 4 weeks, then you may add a set here or there and then kind of feel it out as you would like. But we're start at a very low threshold. Okay, then work our way up. That way we don't accidentally completely overreach and then have to dial back for however long trying to figure out what the fuck we're doing. Okay, so recount 3 things. You need high enough frequency to build quick coordination adaptations. You need good enough sleep to actually build those adaptations. You need to manage your volume so you don't accidentally overtrain the muscles that you're using to execute this action, and don't overwhelm your nervous system, which is responsible for you performing it well. And if you can do all that while, obviously not eating like garbage, try and maximize that as best as possible, because I know that you're going to McDonald's sometime this week and you need to stop, all right? You have good food at home, and it doesn't take that much time to make some fucking ground beef, all right? Anyways, other than that, take care of yourself. Again, these rules apply to every other lift. So for a little bit of critical thinking, you can really get a lot stronger than I think you realize at any compound lift. Obviously, if you have any injuries or problems with your shoulder, hips, knees, rehabilitate those before you start attacking your joints and ligaments and muscles that aren't prepared for it with very heavy load. Okay? Okay. Thank you guys so much. Go get jacked. Go get strong. Take care.